There was snow, stretched for miles and more, where we buried our souls. Oh, I long for them days left and gone, where we sing and where we dance to a brighter song. But now I look upon a field of bodies stretched out and I feel nothing. Something's burning in my soul, I let it lose control and I'm in. And oh God, I said, I tried so hard, it's a long, long road that you told me so. Yeah, I tried so hard to forget where we are, and all we do is laugh and we sing. Oh, 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 and we laughed, oh, and we cried and thought, oh, what a life. Oh, 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 and we laughed, oh, and we cried and thought, oh, what a life. And we laughed, oh, and we cried and thought, oh, what a life. Yeah, but I tried so hard, but we killed our hearts. In the valley's low, hear the trumpets blow. Yeah, I tried so hard, yet I'm lost and scarred, and I'm filled with regret, and yet I think, oh, 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 and we laughed, oh, and we cried and thought, oh, what a life. Oh, 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 and we laughed, oh, and we cried and thought, oh, what a life. We laughed, oh, and we cried and thought, oh, what a life. Yeah. There we go.
We laughed and we cried and thought, oh, what a life. This is spirituality. This is spiritual community tonight, an open and affirming spiritual community. Welcome to Collective. I'm Ben. I'll be your host for the service tonight here in beautiful, if a little chilly, downtown DeLand. And no, it's gorgeous now. And joining us in our living room from anywhere in the world at wearecollectivechurch.com, where you can subscribe. We hope you'll stay connected. Welcome. Some of us have done this hundreds of times, some of us only a few, some of us maybe never. If you're joining us online, we're grateful for your presence. If you're joining us in the room, we're grateful for your presence. Thank you for trusting us. Your perspective, it makes us fresh, it keeps us alive. So we begin by bearing witness to the courage it takes simply to gather. We want to honor that courage with belonging. So whether you are a long time or first time, you belong. Your presence makes us who we are welcome. We're here not to be religiously entertained, but to do good work. Spiritual formation for us, that's making a good life as good people. That sounds worth it. So thanks to Kenny for co-hosting. Thanks to our artists in residence for moving over to the bass tonight, and the author of the community statement song, Love Without Why, Andrew Brooks. How about a hand for all those folks? We have standing in for Brandon tonight for the first time. John is running the room. Brandon's not in the room. Yes, all right. Wendy is standing in on slides. Yeah, Wendy! And we're going to have Heather up for a conversation here shortly tonight. You can applaud now and you'll applaud later. Yeah, fantastic. And you all are here. Yes, thank you. Yeah. This is where the important work is, and those of you who are joining us online in the community. We all are Collective Church. Would someone like to come and remind us what that means? Read the community statement for us. Yes, Steve Tondras is coming. Making his way, a way will be made. And Steve, you're going to grab the mic on the couch, and you'll set a great example for everybody. Hold the button for 2 seconds. The green light will come on. and then you'll remove your apparatus. Boom. Take notes, guys.
We value highly the metaphor of journey. We're different people from different places and backgrounds, representing an intergenerational community, and we've traveled different paths. So we agree not to make assumptions about the person across from us, next to us, or in conversation with us. We challenge ourselves to be sensitive, knowing this community includes a diverse group of people, from lifelong followers of Jesus to people who are just now open to the idea that God might exist. We strive to avoid offense, ask good questions, articulate and explain our responses. We don't assume fluency in Bible, spirituality, or church language, because we believe the message of Jesus is not for Christianity, but for humanity. So we do everything in the spirit of love and grace.
How about a hand for Steve?
Travel different paths. We're beautiful people with messy pasts, so have no fear, no judgment here. Whether you believe in Jesus or don't believe in anything, there's something you can teach us. You belong, no right, no wrong. An open table where no one's turned away. Well, love without why, and no one has to hide. Finding God in people, sharing hearts as equals, where you are held in line. The good news is on your side. It's full of mystery, and solidarity helps us to find some peace in the great unknown. You don't have to be alone, no. Leaning into grace, help us make a place with an open table.
Said it and sung it, so let's get connecting now. It's hard to build a movement if you don't know who's in it, so we're going to talk to each other.
Hold on, pause 1 second. John, can you throw Kenny on so people online can hear him? He's on. Let's check 1, 2.
There you go.
Yeah?
No?
It's very quiet.
Very faint. Let's see if we have more volume. Check. Give us something, Kenny.
So if you're willing to share with someone
There it
next to
is.
you, quick answers, 3 minutes on the clock. I will be online. You can give me a shout out and let me know you're with us. Send me answers to your questions. Our question tonight is, how is an open and affirming church good news for you or those you love?
Quick one tonight.
Yeah.
3 minutes. Are you guys ready? You know the house rules? We'll come back. We're going to have way more conversation later, let me say that. So we're just teeing it up, okay? Just plant a seed, and we'll come back in 3 minutes. Ready, set, go. Now. All right, we say that we don't make assumptions, but we do make assumptions that this is good news. Anybody have an overwhelming testimony they want to share with the congregation about why this is good news for you or a loved one? It was loaded church language. Anybody want to use a story for us? No? Anybody? Okay, good. We'll move on. Oh no, Kenny, go for it. Is that it for the rundown, I think?
Yeah, it's time for the rundown. So thank you everyone for talking with each other and connecting. We've said it, sung it, gotten connected in the room and online. So if you want to take the next step and practice with us this week, you'll have to start by signing up for the email.
Who was online? You said there were some folks online.
Yeah, we had Michelle,
Cool.
Bill Brennan,
Brandon.
Brandon was watching, Jay,
Awesome.
And the Longs.
Cool.
So we've
Very
got a
good.
pretty packed online house.
I saw Karen and Lewis today, and they said one time to DeLand for church was enough. That was for lunch. So glad you guys are online with us. That makes sense. That's very reasonable.
So yeah, you can sign up for the email on the website. You can select the rundown as well as your preferences for the rundown. Then the weekly rundown becomes your custom dashboard for us practicing together. We've got coming up the return of Collective Kids, which is February 6th with Darlene. We're still working on getting scheduling from Ella and Jenny Beth, but if you want to bring your kids or you know people that have kids and having childcare or something for them to do when you're in church is really important, but
Yeah.
then we've got that coming for you.
And best laid plans, right? So everybody with a big grain of salt. But the hope is that between Darlene and Ella and Jenny Beth, that we will have programming every Sunday for kids starting next weekend. I want to say through the year, but a year's a long time. So for the foreseeable future, we'll have programming every Sunday. And we'll have more details about what that'll be soon.
And that's also in the rundown. We'll be if we have kids programming, it will go out in the email.
And you can check Collective Kids, right, to get that. Awesome. Good.
And then, of course, we've got a big event coming up on the 19th, which is like about 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God.
3.
3-ish?
What's the day? Yeah, it's 3 weeks.
Okay. So Fireside Moonrise, which was rescheduled from this month at Jim's house. He and Lynn will be hosting. Very generous of them to offer. It will be from 6 to 9, I believe.
Yeah, and it would be fair if you're thinking to yourself, it's very cold in Florida these days, and 3 weeks from now it might still be cold. Do I want to go watch a moonrise in the cold? Jim provided firewood for a party I was at last night, and it was fantastic. We were all warm. It was one of the best fires I've ever been around. So there will be plenty of firewood, right, Jim? Yeah, and there will be plenty of friends and probably good food. So you should definitely check it out. It's one of the best things we do.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else coming?
Well, we're still working on getting some art and soul stuff scheduled out, and we've got Collective Kids. Again, like we were saying, we're going to have stuff booked out with Jenny Beth.
Cool.
We've also got plans to revive work in some capacity.
Yeah. Work of the People will be coming in February.
Yeah, and I think that's it. If you need any help with signing up for the email or any sort of communication stuff, ask me after the service. I'll be here.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to sit in silence. And I think you're supposed to mute that in the room and not start it yet. We're all learning together. So we're going to sound the singing bowl. We're going to ask you to join us for a few minutes of gently returning to your attention. Maybe that's a language or a symbol for you, for your true self, or for God, to return to your attention. Whether that feels like reaching the very center, or that feels like emptiness in the best sense, either way, sink into that. Breathe and listen as if your senses are searching for something. Keep your awareness open to surprise. And be gentle. Your mind will wander. Return to your breath. With each click-clack of dog nails or downshift of a semi-truck, come back to your breath. Come back to your attention. Come back to the moment, to presence. Without judgment, just notice. Be a scientist of your experience, returning gently, gently to your breath. Sit for about 3 minutes. Feel free to use the drone footage to help you survey your inner landscape. May the silence remind us what we want the ceremony to accomplish for us. Humility, spiritual rebirth, strength for what lies ahead. Breathe. It's all right. as we bring our attention back to the room, I want to share some things that have been heavy with me this week and give you guys an opportunity to share some things that have been heavy with you if you'd like. And for us to have some practice and some ceremony around that I think will make us, oh, is this not on? Oh, I turned it off. Sorry about that. Thank you. So what I'm going to do, I found out this week, my mom called me in the middle of the week, and at that point I was already not having the best week. And my mom was like, do you have a minute? I was like, oh no. So my Uncle Gil is sick and basically palliative, like they're not going to do much more with him. And my Uncle Paul up in upstate New York. And these are older guys, they've had great lives, doesn't make it easier. He's sick and he's not going to be with us a ton longer. And my cousin, my younger cousin, has had breast cancer and mastectomies and has had some return stuff and elected just to have the mastectomies and not return to having any, just hard stuff, really heavy stuff. And so I'm going to light a candle for each of them because I need a sense of light and warmth and connection to what they're going through, what my family's going through. I got a text today from Rick Schultz, who's like one of the most faithful Misfits Collective has ever known. We love you, Rick. He had surgery this week, and he said, I can't come. I'm just in too much pain. So I'm going to light a candle for Rick. And Dan is not feeling well. He tested negative, but he didn't want to risk coming. Dan Hensley, which is why we don't have coffee tonight. God bless that man. So I'm going to light a candle for Dan as well. For me, part of it is to share it with you guys so we can carry it together and to light a candle. And that's for me. And so if you would like to share also, you can. In a minute, we're going to play some music. And during that, you can come and light a candle. But what we call the prayers of the people is this, sharing some of the heaviness that you want to light a candle for. And then we trust that we are the body of Christ, including the ears, and so that our prayers are heard. Would anybody like to share? And I think for the sake of consistency, would you like to share first and be the mic runner? Yeah. Fantastic. I feel like that was a manipulative invitation to prayer. Like, hey, we're going to pray for you. You work for us now. It is all good.
Okay, so my family lives in Georgia. My sister lives in Atlanta. She's got a lot of health stuff going on. She has a 3-month-old baby. They all just recovered from COVID. You can't vaccinate a 3-month-old baby.
Yeah.
News. Anyways, because of insurance reasons, she can't have the surgery that she needs to have. So it's like a lot of shenanigans. And then on top of that, yeah, my family in northern Georgia is recovering from COVID as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, we got vaccinated, we've been wearing our masks, we've been staying away from people. We bought this cabin in northern Georgia in the mountains.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing everything we should, but
Yeah, and then to be isolated when sick.
Yeah, so.
All right, we will hold that with you.
This dog helped so much. Oh my gosh, he's like an emotional support animal.
Yeah.
Does anybody else need emotional support via dog?
This all makes it sacred space.
Come on, it's good.
Odin, the unconditional lover. If you're watching online, you have no idea what we're talking about. There are animals here loving us unconditionally because people can't seem to figure it out. So, anyone else? Yeah, Helena.
My mom is going through chemotherapy.
Yeah.
She got diagnosed with lymphoma last year.
Yeah.
She's probably going to make a full recovery because it's, what is it? Is it B-cell or G-cell lymphoma? The easier one to treat.
Okay.
But it's still hard, especially with the wave going on, and it seems like every government official has given up on containing this, and it's very stressful.
Yeah, I bet. Well, we will carry that with you. Thank you. Feel free to light a candle. Mayhill. Thank you, Jess.
Oh, no problem. So a lot of you know I study Ukraine, and I have a lot of friends and colleagues there. Not knowing whether Russia's going to invade is really stressful. The Fulbright program was shut down, and all the Fulbrighters and most Americans have left Ukraine. And it first brought back memories of when I was stuck in Ukraine 2 years ago during COVID, which was scary. And of course, I'm worried for this country that I've spent half of my adult life studying. And it's been a really emotional week in classes. I teach Russia and Eastern Europe, and so I sort of have found myself saying some things I probably shouldn't have said to the students about, we sort of say we want to understand this place, we want to understand Russia, we want to understand why countries do what they do, but part of me just wanted to say, but yeah, back the F off, Putin, and don't hurt my peeps.
Yeah.
And so it was really hard to kind of be a professor in that situation, and so I just would just sort of sending my heart out to this country that has been so often overlooked and damaged by its neighbors. So thank you.
Thank you. We love you. We'll carry that with you.
Is it okay if I interject supportively? Okay, because having...
No, this happened last week. Annabelle co-hosted, so please, you're the co-host now.
All right, so having been to Russia and having been to, I went to Stetson as well and did the Russian studies. I just want to say that when people here in the U.S., when they say, F the Russians for this shit, it's not the Russians, it's their government. The Russians are fabulous people.
Yes.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
Imagine nuance.
Anybody else?
I'll share also, actually, Mayhill reminded me, I was texting her earlier this week about Ukraine. My good friends Kyle and Rachel, actually, whose wedding I did recently, the band from whose wedding is going to be playing Sunday Soul Brunch, Chief Cherry. Shout outs all around. This is like product placement right in a row. So Kyle and Rachel spent a bunch of the last few years in Burkina Faso, which is experiencing a collapse of democracy and a lot of violence. She was working on battling sex trafficking, and he was doing English with people that didn't speak English. So they're amazing people, and they also have lots of people who are there and probably in harm's way. So I'm going to light a candle for them as well. Anybody else? You don't have to. Sharing doesn't need to be a part of it, but we want to create that space. It's good for me sometimes to be able to share that. All right. So when you're ready, if you'd like, feel free to come and light a candle, and we're going to hopefully see the love. Sounds nice.
And every day we go to work and we assume we know so much more than them before we hear what they have to say. And headlines break, we start to hate again, calling them names again. We give our peace away. I hope they see it, 'cause I wanna see it. I wanna believe it. I wanna see the love all around you, all around you. I wanna know, I this pain within we cannot medicate. Learn to feel, learn to begin again, open our eyes again to see our brother's pain. I hope they see it, 'cause I wanna see it. I hope we believe it. I wanna see the love all around you, all around you. I wanna know that love is all around you. It's all around. It's all around you. It's all around you.
That was good for me. Thank you. Oh, how about a sermon?
Looks like Heather has coffee.
Oh, miracles abound. Miracles abound. Apparently there's coffee. Not only is there coffee, that means Heather's fixed the coffee machine. All right, a hand for Heather. She's going to be up here in a bit, but... All right. All these candles are lit. Doggone it. Now may the words of my mouth and the meditation of all of our hearts grant us not only the light of wisdom to understand these words, but the fire of conviction to put them into practice. Amen. So we've been in a series. This is actually the end of the first series within 4 series. I don't even know how to explain this. So finding my place. This one is kind of some basic stuff we're going to wrap up tonight. If you're online and you think that there's a train coming through, you're right. No, the mugs are here. Coffee's happening. Let's do this. If you want coffee, raise your hand and we'll have some people bring it to you. That way there's not a rush. Cool. John, Joe. I feel like I'm hosting a dinner here. So these first few weeks, we've been asking, basically, is there a place for me? And the answer is yes, there's a place for you. We're going to move into finding my people for the next 5 weeks. We're going to talk about some pretty specific theological distinctives for us. And then after that, we're going to get into things that are a little bit more political or social. And then we're going to land with what it means to be a part of a community on purpose over time. Which will land us on Easter. It's great. We'll tie it up with a little bow. Again, best laid plans, so we'll see where we land. But the big picture is asking the question, who are we and what are we up to, so that we can figure out who's with us. We've decided we're ready to do something. Let's do something together. But we need critical mass for momentum. So who's with us? Because we don't think we're alone in the things that we care about. The world's full of people who care about the things we care about. So we're going to spend a season talking about the things we care about, and hopefully that'll generate some energy and momentum. So finding our place. Next week we'll start 5 weeks finding our people. After that, finding our faith, and sort of like after the last 4 years of living in the world. And then finally finding my church. So we believe that there are things that get in the way of people who would otherwise benefit from what we do, who are interested in what we have, who are the kind of people who we want to hang out with and they want to hang out with us. So how do we help people overcome those barriers and positively influence the way that they find a congregation like Collective? One of those distinctives is how we treat same-sex relationships. We're going to deal with this twice in the series tonight, and then again in about 3 weeks, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. So let's start with open and affirming tonight. Again, it's going to be more of a conversation than a sermon, but this is the starting point. So check out the video, and we'll go from there. Is there an open and affirming church in DeLand? There is. We say every week in our community statement that we don't assume fluency in the Bible, spirituality, or church language. So let me decode a couple of these words for you. Welcome, or open, usually means a church is open to the LGBTQ plus community in some way, but not entirely. So maybe you can come to church, but you can't serve, or lead, or get married. We all grew up with religions or traditions handed to us, and they're rattling around in there, but it's on us to deal with them now. Let me say first, there are tons of open and welcome feeling churches in DeLand, and that may be just what you're looking for. The reason Collective uses the language of open and affirming specifically is that we mean we're not just open to the queer community. We're affirming and celebrating the fullness of their love, including them in the full life and service of this congregation. So if you're looking for welcoming, honestly, there's tons of places for you in DeLand. If you're looking for open and affirming, it's Collective Church. There's a place for you here. Our sincere hope is that Collective is a place for anyone, but we know it's not for everyone. If you think it might be a place for you, we hope that you'll bring all your questions and your sense of humor. But enough about us. We really are so curious about you. Please join us Sunday nights at 5 here in downtown DeLand or at wearecollectivechurch.com. Your presence makes us who we are, and there's a place for you here. For many people, this is a distinctive, an issue over which they left the church. And I think probably if we could get more granular with the research, there were probably a lot of other reasons given for people leaving the church that were really the church's stance on same-sex relationships. So let's paint a picture of the problem very quickly and then talk about the benefit of sort of the solution. Do you guys have a picture in your head of what it looks like when a church is welcoming but not open and affirming? Like everybody's welcome here, but not really open and affirming. Can you guys maybe share stories of your experiences or those that you love who have had those kind of like painful or awkward experiences that truly do become barriers to people being involved in a faith community? Anybody have a story they'd want to share that illustrates that? Yeah, please. Oh, actually, if you don't mind, can we get a mic? Oh, yeah, Jess is doing everything. I got it. Oh, you got it? Go for it. Thank you. Thank you. We've had lots of feedback from the online community that they actually care what you guys say. When it's just me, they're like, stop, we can't hear everyone else. Go, please.
Okay, so I personally heard this story, but this church that I went to a while ago, they were always like, oh yeah, everyone's welcome in this church, you know. But that kind of changed when there was this lesbian couple that was sitting near the front, and when it was time to give peace, they kissed each other, and that really turned off a lot of people. Yeah. They were just they were not having it.
Wow.
So just experiences like that where
Yeah.
it's they're yeah, we're accepting of everyone, but then they see that and they're completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, that's a perfect illustration, I think. And I want to say this, like we've said, the hope of this series is not a witch hunt, right? It's not to say that there are churches that are not open affirming. Of course, we know that. Part of what we want to say is that the problem lives in this room. This is not a hypothetical. This is people in our families have experienced this. People we love have experienced this. Many people, and I don't want to, call names out, but people who have shared their stories in the congregation in the past. And I'm thinking of 3 people specifically whose parents are in ministry who don't accept them, their queer children. That's the people we're trying to make space for and tell that they're okay. Even when they're parents, can you imagine your own parents who stand for God saying you're not acceptable and having the courage to say, I'm a person? Maybe you have to move across the country to get away, but I'm a person and my love is love. God, That's what I'm here for. I hope that's what you got, like when we talk about open and affirming. Anyway, that's more for me that you needed to hear. Who else? What are maybe another barrier? Anybody else have a story that they'd want to share? All right, I'm going to share this text real quick. No, you know what? I'm not going to do that because we don't need to. I want to paint a picture for you, I guess, of what, and I don't, right, wrong, or indifferent, from a follow-through standpoint. What does it look like to go from the conviction to be open and affirming, sort of a statement of our position, we think that this is important, we care about it, to the way that it's lived, to the way that it's practiced it and administrated and budgeted for and wrestled with and loved enough to change and to kill it and to figure it out again. With that caveat given, as imperfectly as we've done it, this is what it's looked like. And I wanted to just share a little bit because I think it's a part of the culture and DNA of the story, and then I'm going to invite Heather to come and moderate some conversation with me. So I remember being invited to lunch with the pastor of First United Methodist to be recruited to basically turn what I was already doing into a United Methodist project. And at the first lunch, I was having lunch downstairs at the Main Street Grill. What's that, like 4 restaurants ago in the basement? That's now the table. Caesar salad. And so he makes this pitch, and I'm like, no, we can't do it because I'm open and affirming. And I think it was like one of the first times I remember saying, like with courage, and I felt so strong because it was like I was turning down a job that was good money, and I was like, no. So, whatever, you grow up. But And to his credit, he was like, okay, fine, if that's who you are, like whatever it is that you do, it's working, so come and do it. And then early in the life of that project, actually, we were at that point meeting in a hookah lounge that was owned by my friend Louise, and then her friend Amy, and then our friend Michelle, kind of got Collective Cares started, and then a guy named Sonny Goff came along, and he was like this charismatic personality. He was like the figurehead of the queer community, just really beautiful guy. He passed away, and at his funeral, that was like one of the first major influxes of life and culture. To Collective was off of Sonny's funeral. That's where Dan Hensley came from. And then Cecil and Caitlin contributed to what Collective Cares was and to sort of our work in the community. Pulse happened. We'd been doing Collective Cares for a few years. Pulse happened, and then DeLand Pride was founded after that, and so we've partnered with them. And if you were here last week, Dan shared about Collective Cares, what's still going on, how it's changed so much over time, but there's still weekly programming for the queer community in our church, and that's huge. We've had so many amazing staff and interns over the years who are a part of the queer community, who have served the staff really well. Kathy, Aaron, Heather. I was looking back through this week and thinking about what it's meant for me practically to be open and affirming. And I was like, I've done gay weddings, lesbian weddings, bisexual weddings, transgender weddings, 2 dad baptisms, 2 mom baptisms. I was trying to think of anything else I can do, but I'm sure there's a bingo card. I want to get them all. And I was seeing I asked Jess and Amber Parker to come and share a bit about what it's meant for them to be a lesbian couple with 2 boys and to be in an open and affirming church, because Jess came out of a more traditional Methodist church. And so for them, it was like a brand thing too. It wasn't just, I got to leave a more conservative Methodist church, but like, can I find an open and affirming church that's in the brand that like I grew up with and I trust? So there's all sorts of stuff going on with this choice. So life and gifts and witness and service. We're basically talking about including the queer community as people, which is like disgusting that we have to have that conversation. So what are the problems? Like, what are the things that I said that might be rattling around in people's heads or their hearts that we have to come to terms with? What are some of those speed bumps or barriers that create tension between the LGBTQ community and the church, or between people that would otherwise go to a church and like it not being open and affirming? We heard a perfect story, so like that bait and switch, right? Everyone's welcome until you get somebody of the same sex, and then everyone like shows you what they really think about you. All right, well, I'll give them to you guys because it doesn't seem like you're going to think of them, and that's my job. So I would say, big picture, what are the problems? The first is the Bible, right? We're going to do that in a few weeks. So there's a long accepted reading of the Bible that says that gay people are not okay. And to be honest, there's just a lot of clergy who don't want to do the work of what it takes to become open and affirming. So there's the Bible, there's tradition. So outside of the Bible or outside of religion, tell me what else from tradition is like painful or dangerous with the LGBTQ community, like familial kind of tradition. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, actually, that's important. Where is the mic? Oh, it keeps going back where it's supposed to. It's such a shock. I always assume it's lost. It's like, I would never look for it where it's supposed to be.
I was just saying that I do ultrasound, and gender reveal is still like such a huge part of our society.
Yeah.
And the other day I had a couple who was like, we don't want to know the gender of our baby. And I was so happy thinking, yay, progressive, you know, just let your child be a child, let them be a fetus, let them be a baby, and let them be a human, and then they were like, no, we just want to be surprised, but it has nothing to do with that. But they were very clear telling me that, no, it's not a progressive view. And and I felt so sorry for that because I feel like there should be more parents that are okay,
Without
not
assigning.
doing crazy pink or crazy blue when most of us are not crazy pink or blue.
Well said. Yeah, so family is another one. You've got the Bible, whatever connection that has to tradition, which is often connected to family. I'm going to say, and we'll talk about this in a couple weeks, general sexual shame and repression. General sexual shame and repression. Just we can't talk about it. It's all bad. You should be scared of it. Sort of like the American up through high school story. Just like, don't, heteronormative power. So these are just some of the ones I could think of this week. And what I want to say is this: these are the stories we've received that do not build us up, that do not put us together, and not just the queer community. When we tell those stories, we are not allies, and they make us sick. Right? It's like being a guard in a prison. It's not just bad for the prisoners. If we're telling those stories, we're toxic. So they don't build us up. They don't put us together. They don't make us whole. Instead, they pull us apart. They broke us. They made us feel bad. They made us question our value and our worth. And part of what we're trying to do in the series is to ask, what if that same tradition that was used to abuse could also be a balm, could be a gift or a comfort by telling a better story? And so the first story I want to offer, and I wanted to share some text this week, because in a couple weeks when we talk about, the question is, can I love God and accept gay people? We're going to actually get into the texts that seem to prevent that or say homosexuality is bad. We're not going to get into that tonight. We're just talking about the benefit of open and affirming. So try this on as an alternative story to all those other stories that we just talked about. All are included. Seems really simple. All are included. And for us theologically, we would say God welcomes people of all genders and sexual identities. There's neither Jew nor Greek, neither slave nor free, nor is there male or female. Neither is there pink or blue. For you are all one in Christ Jesus. God has shown me that I should not call anyone impure or unclean. I'm sorry, that's impure because language is important. Impure or unclean. I could have blamed it on the Bible too. I owned that. God has shown me that I should not call anyone impure or unclean. So all are included. How about this story? The church needs LGBTQ members. And again, not like we're going to do membership on Easter, but I don't mean membership like you signed and blah, 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 so I'm going to call you if you don't show up. Membership in the sense that the human body has many parts, but the many parts make up one whole body. So it is with the body of Christ. Some are Jews, some are Gentiles, some are slaves, and some are free. But we have all been baptized into one body by one Spirit, and we all share that same Spirit. We all share that same Spirit. Not I have a good Christian spirit and gay people have a bad pagan spirit. We all share that same Spirit. The early church welcomed, this is one of my favorite readings. Brian McLaren, who's one of my mentors, he's come and spoken here before. This is his reading, I think, from one of his books in the early 2000s. The early church welcomed non-gender conforming people. One of the first recorded baptisms in the early church was of an Ethiopian eunuch. Pretty cool. And then this is huge. I had never heard this. See, very often people are like, progressives will use it to conservatives will be like, look, Jesus never said anything about gay people, right? He says stuff about divorce and about lust and about all this stuff, but he never says anything about gay people. But then also conservatives will use that too and be like, oh, well, Jesus never says anything about gay people, so how do you know? And the rest of the Bible hates them, so why don't you just hate them? That was my impression. But so the NIV translation of Matthew 5:22 reads, anyone who says to a brother or sister, rakah, that's a Hebrew word, is answerable to the court. The original Greek text doesn't include sister. Anyone who says to a brother or sister is answerable to the court. So the original Greek doesn't include the word sister. The word is rakah, and it's actually a transliteration of an Aramaic word, rakah, which is the feminine form of the adjective that means to be tender, weak, or soft. This is calling somebody a sissy or worse. Interesting. Very interesting. So what, Heather, come up, and we want to ask you guys to share with us just for a few minutes. We've been talking about what it means to be a progressive church, to hold these values, now to be, is the mic there? Yeah. Magnificent, right where it's supposed to be. Probably somebody's. No.
Hey,
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me out there in the interwebs? Yeah, good.
So part of what we want to do is acknowledge that to talk about being open and affirming, and for the only person to talk about to be a straight white man, probably weak game, right? So
Yeah,
why don't you respond to the video and tell us why you think, what we do specifically as a church is important, but also just the value of being open and affirming as a core conviction.
Well, when Ben asked me to say a few words, I've been thinking all week about what I could say, and we just don't have time because we will be here for weeks and weeks and weeks because there's just so much to say. But one of the things that came to mind for me was thinking about tolerance. There's many churches, especially a lot of the mainstream churches and a lot of the fundamentalist churches, that are accepting of the LGBT community, claim to be tolerant. We're told to be tolerant. Tolerance is good, right? We want to tolerate people. Wouldn't the world be a better place if we tolerated people? Well, think of the things that you tolerate. Okay, so think of 5 things that you tolerate in your life. You tolerate cold weather, because you have to. You tolerate pain if you get hurt, right? You tolerate, what else do you tolerate? Come on.
Long hours.
You tolerate long hours.
Long work hours. Yeah.
So, somebody from the congregation. Come on, more things that you tolerate. Vegetables, you tolerate vegetables. Anybody else? I'm sorry? Bad traffic, you tolerate bad traffic. So these are great examples. We tolerate all of these things. How many of those things that we mentioned do you love? None. Name something that you love that you tolerate. Jesus told us to love our neighbors as ourselves. And when he was asked who our neighbor was, he came out with all kinds of different answers in different places, but the main one that people think of is the Good Samaritan parable, and it was the other. It was the stranger, the person that nobody likes. Okay, that's your neighbor. That's who you've got to love. So when we say we tolerate the LGBT community, you cannot love something that you tolerate. Tolerance is putting up with something that you do not love, that you do not like. So if you tolerate the LGBT community, you are not practicing the message of Jesus. Full stop. And I'm sorry, I know that Ben doesn't want this to be a witch hunt, but if people from other so-called tolerant communities in the area, if you tolerate the LGBT community, you are not practicing what Jesus taught. Period. We don't tolerate the LGBT community here, we embrace them. Not only do we embrace them, we have them make our coffee. Oh, I'm sorry, the coffee's a little bit weak, by the way, but it will be back up and running next week. I did fix the machine, that's good.
That's how you know you're fully involved in the church. It's not we let them make our coffee, we have them make our coffee.
Yeah, right. Jesus was often talked about what it is to lead. And, Ben's talked about how we've had members of the LGBT community in the leadership of Collective. And, one of the greatest examples that Jesus taught us about leadership was when he washed people's feet. I mean, back in the biblical days, that was such a humbling thing to do, to wash somebody else's feet. And he said, "This is how I lead, by washing feet." And so we lead by making bread. We lead by making coffee. We lead by sitting in Collective in the middle of the week when you all are doing your rest of your lives and planning out all these sermons and getting people to speak on the couch and stuff like that, planning out the music and chasing people up to contribute to the service. And look at so we lead. So we don't make the LGBT people make our coffee. We allow them to lead us in that ministry. Right. And I think Dan's not here tonight. Dan is almost always behind there being the barista.
Right. The night we're talking about this, he's sick.
He's fallen into that role. Sure. But look at the people who are leading. Look at the people who are leading in this. Look at the people who are up here right now. Yeah. There are at least as many members of the LGBT community up here on the front as there are down in the congregation. That is open and affirming.
Yeah. Yep. And that's been, the conviction from the early days of the church. I'm trying to remember. Do you remember Nate Burke from Stetson? He was in campus life for a long time, but he was is this not on again? No, it is. Cool. Just a prolific writer. He would blog and stuff, but I remember we had him come and share his experience because he grew up in a religious family and was not well accepted, but was still very involved in campus ministry. And I remember we had some of the faculty from Stetson come and talk about like the Bible and homosexuality. So I know from the very early days, it's been it has to be more than a label. And kind of like we talked about last week, like progressive can't be a noun, it's got to be a verb. And open and affirming can't be a sticker that lives on the window, it's got to be in the practice of the church, which is what you just said. That's, right. At the end of the day, that's either our practice or it's not.
So if you're out there and you're looking for an open and affirming congregation and you come here, be prepared to roll up your sleeves and get stuck in.
Yeah.
Because we will put you to work if you choose to serve.
And I do, Heather, I appreciate so much the what you drew out, because I think I've been having these conversations this week with a number of different people, and this theme seems to be rising to the top, that regardless of what the subject is, that the move forward, the embrace of people who have experienced the harm and people who have experienced the healing in each of those things, in that community, the value of those stories and the value of connecting people to share those stories as a way of moving forward, rather than like we just need to arrive at a new answer. We just need to learn to interpret the Bible again for this 20 years, and then we'll reinterpret it again for that. No, it's like we need to be in the conversation together, and we either have to move forward together or not.
Fabulous.
Anybody else have anything that they'd like to share, reactions to the video? Thank you so much, Heather. Yeah, Jerry. Oh, yeah, we'll run out there.
I'd like to respond to what Heather just said. And to what Heather just said, it's really key. That's bold print, capital letters, underlined, highlighted. Tolerance is sometimes the opposite of love, as he pointed out.
Yeah.
You tolerate pain. And oftentimes I've been in situations, including here, where it's a new environment for me. First time I went to a black church, and you get this look like, hello, hi, welcome. Hi, I came because I heard music and I saw joy, and that's why I'm here, But I often think, like, I haven't experienced discrimination. Well, yeah, Four Eyes, bookworm, goofy kid, filthy clothes. I've experienced a lot of, all the minor discrimination you can discriminate. One of the toughest to deal with is being like, oh yeah, Jerry, yeah, he's nice. Okay. Do you ever talk to him? Oh, no. And it's kind of like the opposite of love is indifference. Indifference. It's like, I tolerate you means like, you're nice as long as you stay over there.
Yeah.
And so I think you don't have to be part of a capital letter discriminated group of people. You just have to appear on the earth, and people find differences you know. And if they don't see what your difference is, they'll invent something.
Yeah.
She's very sociable. She's very gabby.
Yeah.
She's very shy. Oh, she's stuck up. And so anybody can turn good into an evil thing. But I think it's a very strong and brilliant point to say, and it shows that love is difficult. It isn't easy and nice, In fact, easy and nice is the easiest thing, And it takes real searching of yourself, of breaking what you thought was a heart was really a stone.
Yeah.
I always say, if your heart's never been broken, it's probably a stone.
Yeah. Let me summarize, because I agree, Jerry, and thank you for highlighting what Heather said. I cannot agree more, and I think part of what we're seeing with a number of the different topics is we are breaking down the illusion of neutrality. And I think that's kind of what Jerry is saying. There is no such thing as neutral when it comes to people. Accepting is just, in this, I really learned this most in Ibram Kendi's book on how to be an anti-racist. He says there is no non-racist. There is no neutral. You're either racist or anti-racist. So you're either affirming or you're not open and affirming. It's sort of, is that clear? But in the same way, in social settings with our neighbors, day to day, to Jerry's point, there's no neutral, right? You can't treat people like furniture. You are either making an effort to connect or you're not. And I know that can get overwhelming, but I think the point is when we're in places where we're attempting to practice that kind of connection and that kind of vulnerability, it takes intention. It's not something that's going to happen if we just see each other as like neutral beings. We have to kind of find that other gear and really connect to one another at that level. And you know what I've learned? Every single person who has not been open and affirming, who developed a relationship, a deep, vulnerable connection with someone who was a part of the queer community, changed their stance. Every single one of them. I don't know anyone who's come to know a person, especially if they're a person in the queer community and they're religious. But I think it's in the relationships. So thank you, Jerry, for that. I think that hard line is important. Thanks, Heather. All right, in a moment, we're going to come and receive the good gift of the Eucharist. This is a meal symbolizing both the open table, which, as we're saying tonight, is huge. and the humanity of God in each person that comes, which again, we're talking about the humanity of God in everyone, anyone and everyone from the queer community who comes to this table, the humanity of God in us and in them, the body of Christ, the same body that heard our prayers, the same body that includes the queer community. And so as always, may the table open you in vulnerability to feel more loved. May it give you courage to be more loving. This table is set for us and for all people, and no one will ever be turned away. Come, let's share with one another this meal and these words, bread for the journey, nourishment for the soul. When you're ready, come.
She says I smell like safety and home. I name both of her eyes forever, and please don't go. I could be a morning sunrise all the time, all the time. This could be good, this could be good. I can't change even if I try, even if I wanted to. And I can't change even if I try, even if I wanted to. My love, my love, my love, my love. She keeps me warm. 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 I'm not crying on Sundays. I'm not crying on Sundays. I'm not crying on Sundays. And I can't change even if I tried, even if I wanted to. I can't change even if I tried, even if I wanted to. My love, my love, my love, my love. She keeps me warm. 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 My love, my love, my love, my love. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm.
Thank you so much for joining us in person and online this evening. And thank you again for making financial support a part of your practice by visiting collectivegives.com. You can make your plan to stay connected with us at wearecollectivechurch.com. Update your preferences to customize your engagement. And if you're willing to share what you found here and make it easier for others to find it also, give us a review on Facebook or Google, or of course, share any of these FAQ videos with your friends and family on Facebook or YouTube. For benediction this evening, a blessing from Kimmy Floyd-Reich of the United Church of Christ's Open and Affirming Coalition. Continue to serve with faith and love. Depart from this time today committed to sharing the best of yourself through generosity of time and resources, meeting the needs of others, both spoken and unspoken, seen and unseen, heard and unheard. As the God of healing has healed us, let us go now and share that compassion with the world. Let us go and greet our beloved transgender, bisexual, lesbian, and gay siblings, our Black, Latinx, Indigenous siblings. Share the good news that they are seen, that they are heard, they are beloved. Go now in hope. Amen.
Thank you. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Kenny. That was awesome. I appreciate that. Let's bring our hands together as a symbol of our intention. First to, we don't have to have that on a slide. To our foreheads for clarity of thought. To our lips for clarity of speech. To our hearts for clarity of action. So that in all that we say and do, love would be our first thought, our first word, and our first deed. Grace and peace. We have yoga tomorrow night, but before that, we have a meeting in the morning, so don't clear the room. Psych. Almost gotcha. Yeah, thanks. Go in peace now.
Thank you so much.
You can throw house music on if you want, John. Thank you, Sharon. Oh, hey, Odin. He's like, give it. Thank you, Brooks.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah.
That was like deja vu.
This song's, yeah.